Hello everyone and welcome back to On the Homefront with Jeff Dudan. Today I am excited to do a recap of my conversation with the incredible Ilana Golan, CEO of Leap Academy. If you missed the episode, don't worry, I'm going to walk you through the highlights, some key takeaways, and even share a few sound bites from our discussion. Ilana is a powerhouse, having broken barriers as a commander in the IDF, trained F-16 pilots, and later transitioned to entrepreneurship and investing in Silicon Valley. What struck me most was her relentless drive to help people transition into the best version of themselves. One of the first things we touched on was Ilana's fascinating journey growing up in Israel, being a shy child who was transformed into a strong leader. She shared an early story about her entrepreneurial spirit as a kid, selling her parents' belongings in front of their house without their knowledge, a clear sign of the drive that would later help her break new ground in the military and in business.
I did have a little bit of that entrepreneurial thing in me, I think from a very early age, at age probably about 4 or 5. My parents weren't at home, which I still don't know why at age 4 or 5 they weren't at home. But I decided to take a bunch of their stuff and put a big box in front of the house and sell them.
Oh, you had a moving sale, but you weren't moving.
Yeah, we were not moving. So my parents came back. They were like, what just happened to all our pens, all our stuff? Where did it go? And I looked at them and showed them how much money I made. And it was obviously very little, but I was very proud. So
Ilana also dove into her time in the Israeli Air Force, where she became the first female commander in her squad. It was an era of glass ceilings, and women weren't allowed to fly combat missions at the time. Instead, Ilana trained the pilots, which gave her a first-hand look at leadership in high-stakes environments. This early exposure to leading in a difficult situation set her up for success in the business world, where her resilience and determination have been key assets.
You're literally in the military, you're thrown in the water and you hope that you're actually going to swim. And like you said, it's like it comes with very basic training. You're kind of slammed into it. And at that point, you need to suddenly, I suddenly realized that my mission in life is to train these pilots to defend my country and come home safe. And I'm doing this all through technology. So even though until I think age 18, I actually fell in love with being in medical school and being a doctor, that was kind of my dream. In the military, it all flipped, and I fell in love with technology and what we can actually make possible with technology. And that's what kind of took me into engineering.
Ilana's transition into technology and engineering was another pivotal moment. Her love for technology blossomed during her military service, which ultimately guided her decision to pursue an engineering degree and later leap into the startup world. Her story of starting a tech company that initially wasn't a great fit for the US market resonated deeply with me as a reminder that even the best ideas sometimes need a serious overhaul to succeed.
It was actually funny because on behalf of Intel, I actually acquired a Swedish company and we morphed it and became, an Intel product. But when I came to the US, I think it shocked me. Again, I will say two things. The first startup that I was in was already a kind of more established. And so I think I was too much down the layers to really notice. The second startup was basically, I was founding the company here in the US. And it was interesting because I met them in Israel. It sounded like, this is a moneymaker. All you need to do is come and collect the cash. So I came and the cash was not coming because it was completely not what we needed for this market. It's something that looked really good 5,000 miles away, but completely not relevant for this market. And it was a complete revamp. And I'll say another thing, Jeff, I think it's also very hard to explain what we're seeing on this side of the world, where they have this massive certainty that what they built is the best thing since sliced bread, but they're sitting 5,000 miles away dreaming about all this cash that is coming in. And you're looking and you're like, I'm meeting Cisco, I'm leading HP, I'm leading on, they're not going to buy this. So either we morph this damn thing or we have a problem. And that was like a really interesting realization about market fit, about how to communicate. I mean, I learned so much from that, Jeff.
One thing that really stood out in our conversation was her journey of personal crisis and reinvention. Ilana opened up about a time when she lost everything, her job, her co-founded startup, and her sense of self. She described feeling completely lost despite 20 years of career success. It was during this challenging period that the idea for Leap Academy was born. She realized that too many high-achieving people are unprepared when their career hits a wall.
There was like kind of the Silicon Valley dream, right? $800,000. They were evaluating our little baby at 5 million almost. And I remember looking at this document and I'm like, oh my God, like, how did I get this lucky? So at that point, I parted ways from my vice president role. You know, I wanted to make sure everybody understand that I'm not running away because I founded this site. So I wanted to make sure, you know, everybody's set. And I moved to, you know, this new baby, but within exactly 24 hours, my co-founder decided to take the money, throw me out of the business, and I was left with nothing. So no job, no salary, no company, you know, no investment. And I think the worst part, Jeff, is that the ego was down the drain. It was totally crashed. And it was suddenly I realized that I gave for the last 20 years everything to the companies that I was with, but I never built myself. I was inevitably like a complete nobody outside. And I think that was a huge, really hard realization. And for somebody really driven, I think we always know what's next. Like we always know, like everything is scripted in my life. Like I always knew kind of what's coming. And suddenly there was this big void. Like I wasn't even sure if I'm looking for a job or looking for to start a business or I'm looking at co-founder. I'm looking for revenge. Like honestly, Jeff, at that point, I was like, where am I even heading? And
did you say revenge?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. Well, you know,
I'm going to start a similar company and I'm going to show him or whatever. Yeah. Like, you know, because at that point, you're just like, I was at the bottom of my barrel, Jeff. I was so, it was a really hard moment. And I think the hardest thing is that I told everybody. So I felt like my ego was down the drain. Like what do I tell to people now? Like that I'm a nobody and I don't know where I'm going. And like, it just threw me off. I knew I could always go back to that company that I was vice president, but there was a reason why I left in the first place. So the question is, what do I do now? And that was a really, really hard, I mean, we can talk about it, but that was a spiraling for about, you know, a good time. Eventually I did start a tech startup. It was acquired and that's how I became an investor, but it was not without a lot of drama.
Yeah. Ilana's experience serves as a powerful reminder. Resilience is everything. Instead of giving up, she turned her personal setback into a platform to help others, creating one of the fastest growing career transition programs in the country. Leap Academy isn't just about finding another job, it's about crafting a whole new identity, building a personal brand, and positioning yourself for long-term success. It's about leaping into the next phase of life with intention, strategy, and support.
I will say the biggest cost in your life is the money you're not making. Period. It's not just the time. It's the money that you're not making. What if I started Leap Academy 5 years ago or 10 years ago? We would be $1 billion company now. So there is also a cost to not taking action. And that cost is really, really, really high.
If you're feeling stuck or at a career crossroads, Ilana's message is clear. It's never too late to reinvent yourself, whether it's through building a personal brand, finding a new passion, or starting your own business. There's always a path forward. But the key is to take action and not go through it alone. As Ilana said, one of the most important lessons she learned was to stop trying to figure everything out on her own. She now works with a team of coaches, and it's that collaboration that has helped her reach new heights. Wrapping up this recap, I want to emphasize the importance of clarity, something Ilana and I discussed at length. Whether you're trying to level up in your career or start a new business, getting crystal clear on your vision is the first step. If you missed the full episode with Ilana Golan, I highly recommend giving it a listen. Her insights on leadership, entrepreneurship, and personal reinvention are invaluable. And if you're considering making a leap in your own life, this conversation could be the nudge that you need. Thanks for joining me on this recap, and as always, let's keep pushing forward together. Stay tuned for more insightful conversations right here on the Homefront. Thanks for listening.